One of the reasons why I am in a highly liturgical setting is at this point in my life, I no longer really am convinced that it's my job to try to convince somebody of something by sharing some information in some unforgettable way. And the liturgy carries us through that. It reminds us that there's deeply profound words that will move us. And of course, in a high liturgy church, in Anglican worship, the height of the worship is not the preaching, but rather the celebration of the Eucharist. And as a preacher, I found that to be so liberating. It reminds me every Sunday that I definitely ought not to take myself that seriously, that it is not about me. But in doing so, I am reminded of what I am really doing, my responsibility as a preacher. I think one of the ways in which Micah groups sort of transformed or began to transform my preaching, it can very well be described as Micah 6:8, to do justice, love mercy, and to walk humbly with the Lord. I feel like I was trained to preach from a personal, psychological, and primarily soteriological perspective of most texts. How can you get someone saved? Or if it was on a matter of discipleship, it was more in terms of how can you incorporate this in terms of personal growth, personal spiritual growth. I think what's missing in that is the social, the communal, sometimes the political ramifications of that text. Once you see that, you can't go back to a text like the Good Samaritan parable and think about that as I need to be a good person, because that story is about crossing boundaries to love someone that is of a different group than you belong to, a group that you hate. It's a profoundly political statement that Jesus is making. You know, I was a church planter for a long time, longing to be inside a church building. And now I am inside a church building, longing to be outside of the church building. And I feel like there's something profoundly right about that we're supposed to be outside of the church and helping people who enter into the church to understand that our work isn't limited to this space. It's deeply about what it means for us to struggle with the issues in the way that the people around us are struggling with. I mean, what does it mean for us to be a community that is deeply connected and shaped and is shaping in both ways? Participating in Micah groups has been tremendous because it has given me hope that these sorts of conversations are possible and that these sorts of conversations can actually transform the participants. As I find a new transformation that is taken in terms of how I approach preaching, how I approach ministry, it has been really freeing. I'm having fun, and I'm able to say fun without apologizing for using such a simple word for what I do on Sundays.